Welcome back everyone to the video that seems to never want to be made. Technical difficulties, multi-attempts. All you YouTubers out there that have channels with tons of content, I give you props. I do not have the patience for this. But I see an issue. I wanted to put something out there. So here I am checking, make sure I get everything in frame and all that stuff. But yeah, I give props to you YouTubers that have a ton of content. I don't know how you do it. So, in a previous video we talked about why the W22, the Workhorse W22 chassis, had problems with brakes locking up. You can look through my channel. There's not much there. You can see the video. I won't talk too much about the previous, but I'm going to talk to you about a fix. I thought I had my problems well in hand. 2 calipers had been replaced on my chassis already, and by the records, fluid had been flushed. Calipers had been replaced. I thought I'm golden. That was not the case. What was it? Probably end of December. Took the rig down to Florida. Everything was fine, but it was cold. On the return trip, that was April, weekend of April 2nd, I think it was, April 3rd, whatever it was a warm weekend. I was in Crystal River. Had to go from Crystal River to Wildwood to get on I-75. And those of you who have made that trip know that that is some very, very flat land. Shouldn't have been any reason whatsoever for my brakes to overheat, but they did. And they locked up. Specifically the left rear caliper, this one right here. Excuse me. I had anticipated problems, so I had brought a caliper that I had rebuilt. I brought brake pads, and I brought the tools necessary. And sure enough, on that 80-degree day, my wife said, "Honey, I smell the brakes." I'm like, "Yeah, you do." I pulled over, left rear was locked up, destroyed my brake pads, and here they are. You can see the indications of heat. This pad isn't too bad, but you can tell by the discoloration here it was hot. This one here is toast. Brand new brake pads. I'm not too sore about that. They're not very expensive. But this was the end result. We're going to talk about the root cause and what I did to fix it. And the long and short of that root cause is brake fluid problems. Brake fluid's got a lot of water in it. My unit had 2 calipers put on it already, this being one of them. This was done years ago. An amount of brake fluid was exchanged during that repair. Some was flushed, but it wasn't completely flushed. So, for those of you watching this that have this problem, my advice to you, get a couple gallons of brake fluid, flush the daylights out of the system, drain the calipers the best you can and get some fresh fluid in them. Once you've got that resolved, the problem won't get any worse, but it's not going to get any better on its own. My fix, get rid of these, was to put pistons in it. Yeah, I can go and buy a reman caliper, but there was a problem. And I talked about it briefly in my other video. You don't know what you're getting. These were pistons out of my previous calipers. And this is about the only one that was in good enough shape to even consider reusing. The rest of these are garbage. But to a rebuilder, a guy who did not have a lot of experience rebuilding calipers, these might have been very acceptable to reuse. They are not, and here's why. This caliper and this caliper, you can see the white lines near the top. I'm sorry, I'm pistons, not calipers. These are pistons. I know the difference. This white line here near the top is the phenolic material, absolutely degraded. If it flakes like this, it's a sign of overheating. I'm trying to see if I'm getting this on camera. I don't know if you got any good lighting here. See if I can get this to focus. The lighting's horrible. But you can see the indication that it's lighter here, and if you scratch it, it just immediately turns to dust. Both of these calipers suffered, let me get you some light so you can see what I'm talking about, suffered a similar fate. There it is. You can see the white line across the top. But anyways, indication of severe heat. A lot of rebuilders would use that because these are expensive in the world of rebuilding the caliper. Bad idea. My rebuilder did that. The end result was the caliper locked up. So, to you out there watching, this is a caliper kit that I bought. That top number, that large number starts with a 2. That's a GM part number. Or Workhorse part number. Google it, you'll find it. You got a Navistar part number down here. I'm sure there's a Bosch number in here somewhere. But this kit came from partsfinder.com. It was a new old stock, and it was in perfect condition. It, however, differed from this kit. There's a Ford part number here. Discontinued. Same Workhorse or GM part number. Still hard to find. This one came out of Europe. New old stock. Unused, unopened boxed. I cut the tape. The difference between the two. The one out of Europe came packaged like this. 2 brand new pistons, and I was happy. I opened the hardware kit. I got new seals and boots, and this is everything that I expected to get, because the previous kit that I got had all this stuff in it. So I'm not unfamiliar with this. Problem with this one is it sat for a very long time. Must have been in a very humid area, because these pistons are so badly swollen they do not fit into this caliper. And you might ask, oh, well, are they the correct ones? Yes, they are supposed to be 66 millimeter pistons. They are 8 thousandths over standard, all because of moisture. This kit, they came in bags with desiccant in there. These pistons were dry. These pistons were great. These pistons are now in this caliper, along with the new hardware. So for those of you out there that want to rebuild your own, it's not hard. These are simple. In this case, I took a 2x4 and an old brake pad for spacing. Put it in there. I applied air pressure to the line fitting where the brake line would go in. Knocked the old pistons out, threw away the boots, threw away the seals. The boots and the seals are pretty easy to put in. It's a very straightforward process. The seals sit in here, and you can see the boots are up here. They just press down into the bore. As far as getting these pistons into the caliper, that's where it gets a little tricky. Alignment is key, and patience is definitely a must. You got to get them in there. These boots, you don't have to put these boots on previous. The boots could go on after the pistons are halfway installed. So don't worry about getting these on. They'll go on after. But you have to get this piston past, or at least engaged with the square cut seal, and you have to get this piston squarely into the bore. Once you do that, a C-clamp, little spacer here, you just squeeze them in like you would doing a standard brake job. Pretty straightforward. If it begins to bind, verify your piston is square in the bore. Don't force it. Don't be an animal and destroy your stuff. But if you want to rebuild them, it's easy. You can buy a new one. You find them online, $200, Rock Auto, I think. You can find them cheaper in different sites. My guy charges me about $120 for a reman caliper. It's a fair price. The kits cost me $55, $60. Guy's got to make a profit. I won't begrudge him that. The problem was he was unaware that his guys were reusing these saturated, oversized pistons that just facilitated the problem. Just kicked the can down the road, The caliper I put on was rebuilt. Grade A job, quality parts, used pistons. I got 10 miles from home and my brake had already begun to drag, and I knew what was going to happen. He'd since corrected it. He put new pistons in the caliper that I bought from him, got new pistons, and we were golden. We were fine. But I didn't want to have to rely on somebody else again to make a mistake or to do it incorrectly. So do it yourself. It's not hard. They go in easy. But once again, to fix the root cause of the problem, you have to flush out all the old brake fluid. You got to get clean fluid in it. End of story. Once you do that, get some new pistons. Put them in. If you got the time, great. You can find part numbers easily. You may not get the full kit. If you enter this part number, or even this Ford part number, the Ford Charlie, 4 Zebra number there, a Sintrek individual piston will pop up. You might even get a caliper kit. They're like $12 for the seal kit. The pistons, I think, were $12, $15. Some are $30 individually. Depends on what site you go to. But you can get them. It's not hard to do. Yeah. Don't be afraid of it. You can also get the caliper. I'll give you this number here, this casting number. This is for the 66 millimeter piston or caliper assembly only. That part number right there, that casting number, is the number for this caliper. This will not fit your W24. That takes a 72 millimeter caliper, 72 millimeter piston instead of 66. There are people that have interchanged them. I won't get into that. It's possible. It's expensive. I don't know if there's any value to it. But pardon the mess. I wanted to touch on this caliper issue. At least make you aware of it. I know of at least one guy out there on the road right now that's having a problem. So hopefully this will help somebody. And for those of you who like to do it yourself, it may help you as well. It helped me, so I figured I'd just share what I knew. And that's it. I think this will be the end of the brake caliper issue. I have one more to rebuild to my left front. It's not posing a problem yet, but it was the last one that was replaced before I own this rig. So it's probably going to be an issue soon, but I will get to it in a couple of weeks. That's all I have for you. Be safe, and I hope this helps you. If you have any comments or questions about this, put them in the comments below. I read them all, because there's really not that many to read. But I will answer you. And if you have some information about this that I haven't touched on, I'd love to hear it. So everyone out there, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the day.